Well, hello there, Miss Nilsson's class. How are we doing today? All right, well, we're moving on. Dinosaurs Before Dark. I believe what chapter are we starting on? Chapter 5? Oh, we are. So let's back up super fast about what has happened so far. Who do you remember as to being our main characters? That's right, Jack and Annie and their brothers and sisters, right? They lived where? Remember? If we don't remember, what do? We do exactly what Miss Nelson's doing. We go back and find it, right? And they live in Frog Creek, Pennsylvania. They're playing in their backyard or forest area, it seems like, right? And they come across a tree house that's never been there before, or at least they've never noticed. And they climb up into the tree house, and what do they find? That's right, bunch of books. And what does Jack end up saying about one of the pages in the dinosaur book? How he wish he could meet a real live pterodon. And then all of a sudden, what happens? The treehouse starts spinning really fast. The wind gets all kinds of crazy. And then all of a sudden, everything is very still. They open up their eyes, and what do they see out their window? That's right, they see dinosaurs, and they see a pterodon more specifically. All right, we ended, do you remember how it ended on chapter 4? They were talking with the pterodon who was named Henry. That's what the sister named him, remember? Because it reminded her of their pet dog, Henry, back at home. They looked up on top of the hill, right? And what did they see? A huge dinosaur. So that has caught us up to this point. Sorry. All right, chapter 5. Gold in the grass. Go, go, said Jack. He threw his notebook into his pack. He pushed Annie toward the rope ladder. Bye, Henry, she said. Go, said Jack. He gave Annie a big push. Quit it, she said. But she started up the ladder. Jack scrambled after her. They tumbled into the treehouse. They were panting as they looked out the window at the dinosaur. So panting means they were breathing really hard, right? After you run really hard. He was standing on the hilltop, eating flowers of a tree. Oh man, whispered Jack. We are in a time long ago. The dinosaur looked like a huge rhinoceros. Only he had 3 horns instead of 1. 2 long ones above his eyes and 1 on his nose. He had a big shield-like thing behind his head. Triceratops? Said Jack. Does he eat people? Whispered Annie. I'll look it up. Jack grabbed the dinosaur book. He flipped through the pages. There, he said. He pointed to a picture of a Triceratops. He read the caption. The Triceratops lived in the late Cretaceous period. This plant-eating dinosaur weighed over 12,000 pounds. Jack slammed the book shut. Just plants, no meat. Let's go see him, said Annie. Are you nuts, said Jack. Don't you want to take notes about him? Asked Annie. We're probably the first people in the whole world to see a real live Triceratops. Jack sighed. She was right. Let's go, he said. He shoved the dinosaur book into his pack. He slung it over his shoulder and started down the ladder. On the way down, Jack stopped. He called up to Annie. Just promise you won't pet him. I promise. Promise you won't kiss him. I promise. Promise you won't talk to him. I promise. Promise you won't. Go, go, she said. Jack went. Annie followed. When they stepped off the ladder, the pterodon gave them a kind look. Annie blew a kiss at him. Be back soon, Henry, she said cheerfully. Shh, said Jack, and he led the way through the ferns, slowly and carefully. When he reached the bottom of the hill, he kneeled behind a flat bush. Annie knelt beside him and started to speak. Shh! Jack put his finger to his lips. Annie made a face. Jack peeked out at the Triceratops. The dinosaur was incredibly big, bigger than a truck. He was eating the flowers off a magnolia tree. Jack slipped his notebook out of his pack. He wrote, "Eat flowers." Annie nudged him. Jack ignored her. He studied the Triceratops again. He wrote, "Eats slowly." Annie nudged him hard. Jack looked at her. Annie pointed to herself. She walked her fingers through the air. She pointed to the dinosaur. She smiled. Was she teasing? She waved at Jack. Jack started to grab her. She laughed and jumped away. She fell into the grass in full view of the Triceratops. "Get back," whispered Jack. Too late! The big dinosaur had spotted Annie. He gazed down at her from the hilltop. Half a magnolia flower was sticking out of his mouth. "Whoops," said Annie. "Get back," Jack shouted at her. "He looks nice, Jack." "Nice? Watch out for his horns, Annie." "No, he's nice, Jack." "Nice." But the Triceratops just gazed calmly down at Annie. Then he turned and lopped away down the side of the hill. "Bye," said Annie. She turned back to Jack. "See?" Jack grunted, but he wrote in his notebook, "Nice." Oh, there he is. Looks like a happy little fella. Oh, what's he have in his hand? "Come on, let's look around some more," said Annie. As Jack started after Annie, he saw something glittering in the tall grass. He reached out and picked it up. A medallion? A gold medallion? A letter was engraved on the medallion, a fancy M. "Oh man, someone came here before us," Jack said softly. Chapter 6, Dinosaur Valley. Oops, excuse me. Annie, look at this, Jack called. "Look what I found." Annie had gone up to the hilltop. She was busy picking a flower from the magnolia tree. "Annie, look, a medallion!" But Annie wasn't paying attention to Jack. She was staring at something on the other side of the hill. "Oh, wow," she said. "Annie!" Clutching her magnolia flower, she took off down the hill. "Annie, come back!" Jack shouted. But Annie had disappeared. "I'm going to kill her," Jack muttered. He stuffed the gold medallion into his jeans pocket. Then he heard Annie's shriek. "Annie!" Jack heard another sound as well, a deep bellowing sound, like a tuba. "Jack, come here!" Annie called. "Annie!" Jack grabbed his backpack and raced up the hill. When he got to the top, he gasped. The valley below was filled with nests, big nests made out of mud, and the nests were filled with tiny dinosaurs. Oh. Gonna zoom in, look at the little babies. Annie was crouching next to one of the nests, and standing over her was a gigantic duck-billed dinosaur. "Don't panic, don't move," said Jack. He stepped slowly down the hill toward Annie. The huge dinosaur was towering above Annie, waving her arms, making her tuba sound. Jack stopped. He didn't want to get too close. He knelt on the ground. "Okay, move toward me, slowly," he said. Annie started to stand up. "Don't stand, crawl," said Jack. Clutching her flower, Annie crawled toward Jack. The duck-billed dinosaur followed her, still bellowing. Annie froze. "Keep going," Jack said softly. Annie started crawling again. Jack inched further down the hill until he was just an arm's distance from Annie. He reached out and grabbed her hand. He pulled Annie toward him. "Stay down," he said. He crouched next to her. "Bow your head. Pretend to chew." "Chew?" "Yes, I read that's what you do if a mean dog comes at you." "She's no dog, Jack," said Annie. "Just chew," said Jack. Jack and Annie both bowed their heads and pretended to chew. Soon the dinosaur grew quiet. Jack raised his head. "I don't think she's mad anymore," he said. "Thanks, Jack, for saving me," said Annie. You have to use your brain, said Jack. You can't just go running to a nest of babies. There's always a mother nearby. Annie stood up. Annie! Too late. Annie held out her magnolia flower to the dinosaur. I'm sorry I made you worry about your babies, she said. The dinosaur moved closer to Annie. She grabbed the flower from her. She reached for another. No more, said Annie. The dinosaur let out a sad tuba sound. But there are more flowers up there, Annie said. She pointed to the top of the hill. I'll get you some. Annie hurried up the hill. The dinosaur waddled after her. Jack quickly examined the babies. Some were crawling out of their nest. Where were the other mothers? Jack took out the dinosaur book. He flipped through the pages. He found a picture of some duck-billed dinosaurs. He read the caption. The Anatosauruses lived in colonies. While a few mothers babysat the nest, others hunted for food. So there must be more mothers close by. Hey, Jack! Annie called. Jack looked up. Annie was at the top of the hill, feeding magnolia flowers to the giant Anatosaurus. She's nice too, Jack, Annie said. But suddenly the Anatosaurus made her terrible tuba sound. Annie crouched down and started to chew. The dinosaur barged down the hill. So barged means she came down pretty fast and hard, like she was in a rush for something. She seemed afraid of something. Jack put the book down on top of his pack. He hurried up to Annie. Oops, the sun. I wonder why she ran away, said Annie. We were starting to be friends. Jack looked around. What he saw in the distance almost made him throw up. An enormous, ugly monster was coming across the plain. He was walking on two big legs and swinging a long, thick tail and dangling two tiny arms. He had a huge head and his jaws were wide open. Even from far away, Jack could see his long, gleaming teeth. Tyrannosaurus Rex! Whispered Jack. All right, we're going to stop it there. Ooh, this book is getting interesting. They're making such good friends with some of the dinosaurs, but do you think they're going to be so friendly with Mr. T-Rex? I don't know. We will find out tomorrow. All right, snack time is over, my friends. We'll continue this book tomorrow. Bye, guys.